there is a machine and there is a system in place that uses memory, number one, and then from memory it uses machine also, and from memory and machine it teaches the machine to learn from whatever has been done, you know, by human intervention. And this is what is called hybrid technology deployed by Google, as well as variety of machine translation technology thing. And luckily, we have with us Dr. Vijendra Sukla sir, who is expert in this area, who himself has designed it for Parliament of India, along with some other experts like Dr. Hemant Darbari, whose name is, you know, written in the Smithsonian Museum, where I have seen that placard which is there, you know, which he revised for Mantra in 1981. And similar kind of variety of revolutionary technology has been evolved while Vijendra Sukla sir was director at CDAC Pune, and he has worked closely with Ministry of Information Technology, Government of India, for variety of government projects, and which is implemented. And I have also been somewhere in part of it as an advisory body member. So please listen to him, and then we will take a call on what is the future of our translation, you know, activities. Sukla sir, please.
Thank you, Ravi, for giving me this opportunity. सबसे पहले तो इस कल्पित मंच पर साझा करते हुए प्रोफेसर अजीत, डॉक्टर संजय, डॉक्टर रवि, इनके साथ मिलकर मैं सभी को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय अनुवाद दिवस की शुभकामनाएं देता हूं, अपना स्वागत प्रस्तुत करता हूं और प्रार्थना भी करता हूं कि जो हमारे भाषाविद हैं, जैसे प्रोफेसर अजीत अभी बता रहे थे मुझे, आप सभी को, मैं चाहूंगा कि कोई भी अनुवादक ट्रेटर ना बने, चाहे वो तकनीकी का यूज करे या ना करे, उसका प्रयोग करे या ना करे। अलबत्ता मैं इस प्रार्थना के साथ अपने इस छोटे से वक्तव्य को आगे ले जाना चाहूंगा। Being a technocrat, I look to this kind of a system presented by Professor Ajit and Dr. Ravi in slightly different way. When I say translation, I assume it as some particular process which accepts one input and produces another output. And the input as well as the output, they come under the category called as language. Therefore, being a technologist, again I say, I understand what is the meaning of language in terms of technology, in terms of the object of information technology. Why I'm saying so? Computers or any electronic system will always work with some particular object called entity. And the entity processes through some particular approach to produce another entity. Now, it is basically a data processing element, which is a computer processor, and therefore language here is a data. But the understanding of language is not a data. As an example, if somebody say 420, a mathematician will say, oh, it is 400 plus 20 plus 0, and that is a number. The moment somebody as a professor looks at it, he will ask, 420 marks out of so many marks. But if lawyer looks at it, he will say, oh, it is the Indian Penal Code Act. Means data, how we infer it, gets converted to a knowledge, and a translation is a process in which we are translating a knowledge, ideally. A knowledge to knowledge translation. I'm happy that Ravi indicated a very, very gigantic hypothetical question in our mind, in everybody's mind, saying that long back there was a knowledge in our Sanskriti, in our culture, which was modified for a variety of reasons by a group of administrators in between for long period of years. And now what we have is altogether different language. So can we translate the original back to so he is talking of retranslation. I'm happy that can be done. But when he pointed out and when Dr. Ajit responded about artificial intelligence, I would like to categorically point out the role of technology into a system called translation system. Technology can be small, technology can be big, technology can be a group of technologies together supporting somebody for carrying out a process to achieve the objective. When I say so, I can say that IT, the information technology tools are available for translators to translate with some speed, with some accuracy. When I say that there are some automatic machine translations, that means they accept the source as language, produce the output in variety of way, and then ask user to modify and get what they want out of it. Two extremes. And artificial intelligence stays somewhere in between. When in 1955, the terminology was coined called artificial intelligence, that time it was mainly oriented to bringing some smaller components towards automation. It never meant to imbibe the real meaning of intelligence. But later on, people like you and me, the users, they created what is intelligence, human intelligence, and what is artificial. What is the difference between the two? Let me tell you, artificial intelligence is not a term competing with human intelligence because it cannot. So the comparison doesn't come. Artificial intelligence is a system in which there is some data and there is some knowledge base. So combination of database and knowledge base put together, the system is trained to handle the processing and produce the output going in that direction. Let me give you one very small example. Let us say I saw a girl in the market. That is my sentence. When I translate, what do? I first go to dictionary. First, I categorically separate out all words. Then I try to figure out in my morphological analyzer as to which word is what, whether it is a noun, whether it is a verb, whether it is an adjective or adverb, or only a connector, or only some stop word, and then I translate it using dictionary as Professor Ajit pointed out. But that dictionary is not the dictionary what is available in a print copy as it is. That dictionary is much bigger dictionary and it is called a lexical resource. It is not a dictionary. It is fundamentally a lexical resource. What does it do? When I say I'm cutting something, it takes cutting, then it relates it to as a verb because of its position in the sentence, and then find out its root word. And it finds out that, oh, cut is the root word, ing is added to make it some variation in it, and what for. And once it understands, it gets the meaning of cut in this target language, add up all other component as a knowledge because of ing component in it, and then produce the output. So it is not just opening a dictionary, going to that word, picking out what sort of meaning it gives and create the sentence. It doesn't do that way. Now, initially, when machine translation systems were existing in 60s, they were of that nature. When artificial intelligence was imbibed into the system, they started finding out root word as lexicons, find out their paradigms, and using paradigms, they were trying to find out something. As an example, I saw a girl in a market. Now, other words are not significantly important for my example, but saw, S-A-W, saw. Saw, when I look it as a verb, it means in Hindi as dekhna, but at the same time it also means katna. So should I translate that? I saw a girl in a market, मैंने बाजार में एक लड़की को काटा. That artificial intelligence will not allow, because the context is observed and produce output thereof. That means the intelligence component has been built in the system to understand inter-word connectivity near and long, and then accordingly find out what are named entities, what are verbs, what are adverbs but are working as adjectives, what are adjectives which can also work as an adverb, and then it analyzes and the best solution it produces. These are artificial intelligence kind of a usage in machine translation. Another approach, everybody knows that, I don't have to repeat, but just for the sake of our discussion, the statistical translation. Google is using statistical translation. Ravi pointed out that it is a hybrid translation, but that hybridization is not mixing of rule-based, statistical-based and example-based, but it is a corpus-driven statistical mix, and that's why it is a statistical. What I'm trying to say is, almost 30 years or maybe 50 years before, if some particular work has been translated into a language, and now after 50 years, the same work is translated to the same output language, two translations will be different, because language has got a component of culture, and that particular cultural component machines cannot catch through a statistical approach. And that's why even if you try some particular sentence on a Google translation today, wait for 15 days, maybe 1 month or 2 months, try the same sentence and you will never get the same translation. Because meanwhile, other people have used it, they have corrected, and they have pointed out the meaning of this word is not so and so, but it is so and so, and Google learned it. It is a machine learning approach, what Google follows. And because of that, there does not exist a consistency, and the use of technology in appropriate manner, if it is done, it only can produce. So they are trying one approach, that's all. What I'm trying to finally indicate is, language is not just a grammar, language is not just a dictionary, language is not just a semantic meaning of it, language is not just syntactic construct of some particular sentence, but it is a culture also. And on top of it, when writer writes something, he always adds something between the lines which is not visible, but to a human mind it is visible. And that way, the translation systems of information technology systems or use of ITs in it cannot capture that meaning in between. I'll give you one small example. I say, President of India arrived. And in Hindi, if I say, Bharat ke Rashtrapati aaye hain, it's an honorific. And if you translate in any other European language, then it will not have any honorific component in it. In Hindi, we make plural form for giving a respect. In Urdu, this concept is too much imbibed in the language itself. And that's why in a sentence, the source sentence, which word should be translated, which word should not be translated, which word should be replaced for originally different words so that output can come proper. IT can help there to the translator, but cannot do the work on its own. I usually used to say that machine translation can work correctly if any one of the following approach is used. 10 to 20% pre-processing, 10 to 20% post-processing, rest of 60 to 80 machine will do. Or another approach, no pre-processing, 60% machine translation, only post-processing. Or no post-processing, 30-40% pre-processing, remaining machine does and output is generated. But when I say so, I mean that the user who is doing pre-processing or post-processing should be the expert of both the languages. That means I'm not trying to say something in English, and those who do not understand English, I'm not getting a machine to translate everything in Hindi and then go ahead. Translation is never atomic thing. Translation is a mixture of translation plus transcreation. And the transcreation comes because of the hidden knowledge between two words, hidden knowledge between two sentences, and correlation of sentences as well as words in between. And that way we go ahead. The culture is we start writing something, a sentence is okay. When we write a paragraph, we modify our style. We write only partial sentences somewhere. We write only words somewhere. Now, when I say welcome, whether welcome is a word or a complete sentence is a question. Translate in Hindi, just swagat is never operative or not used effectively. Aapka swagat hai, somebody has to say. That means aapka hai kahan se aaya? Welcome was the input and dictionary says it is swagat. So that will not work. So what is missing? That also has to be captured. And that particular component, intelligent systems can do better with some machine learning approach. And that machine learning is a time variant thing because language is a culture and culture changes over a period of time. Now, of course, in any longer text, there could be a percentage of some sentences, group of sentences, which need to be translated. But there are some sentences which need to be transcreated. There are some sentences which don't need to be translated at all. And there are some words or sentences which need to be added to the output, although they are not present in the input, only then it works. Ideally, a question always comes up to any technocrat. I'm not a translator. मैं अनुवादक नहीं हूँ. I don't understand the theory. I learned so many things from Professor Ajit when he says, and whenever Ravi meets, he talks about these things, so I understand many theories in translation. I have never been a student of translation, but I work for a technology. So I try to look at you as a translator, and I try to figure out, oh, this solution, this technique, or this particular component will work from him. That way it goes. Now, lastly, I would like to wrap up because I was told that it's not a lecture, it's a discussion that we need to have. It's a panel discussion. So I would like to wrap up by saying that understanding of a knowledge and creation of a knowledge is ideally a translation. And it can never be done by a machine alone or a human alone, because both of them, they do have some characteristics. Human mind is good at intelligent work. Machine is good at repetitive work. Now, if Varshik Ahval or annual reports are to be translated, then machine can do better. But if it is a Wordsworth poem to be translated to a poem like Rabindranath Tagore's poem, then definitely it cannot. It cannot do. So literature, translation of literature is definitely a big question, even in front of information technology people today. And we are trying to capture those things, but while capturing, mistake committed is as under. I am born in India, so I understand Indian culture. I was having my mother tongue as Hindi, so I understand Hindi better. I studied in Hindi medium, so I understand a language constructs in Hindi properly. Later on, when I graduated and post-graduated in technology, I used English. So I learned English through Hindi. I never learned English as English, but I learned Hindi as Hindi. That is the difference. And when I look at English content now, the writer must have had some different mindset to write that. But what I understand to create that technology also affects my machine. We have very good scientists and technocrats in India. Dr. Sangal is there, Pushpa Bhattacharya is doing, Hemant Darbari is already there. They are working, and over years, I won't forget Dr. R.M.K. Sinha, who devoted his full life for machine translation only. And in 1988, he introduced a concept, and he said that for a technocrat, all languages world over can be divided in only three groups. One group is European language originated from Latin. Another is Indian or Indo-Arabic language originated from Sanskrit and some component, other component. And third is a pictorial language, Chinese, Thai, Japanese. They have a very large set of alphabets in it. But in Hindi language or in Indian language, we have fixed set of alphabets, but we have rule to combine them together. Like pictorial languages, Chinese and others, they do have some mechanism of combining pictures to create that particular phoneme or particular indication as an alphabet. European language, they are fixed with respect to alphabets and they don't use conjuncts. These are three different characteristics a technocrat understands, and then they try to write something. They try to write some programs which will understand. A technocrat can translate Pascal language program into a C language program because both are computer languages, and the reason behind it is Pascal gets first converted to machine language which a hardware machine can understand. C also can be translated into a machine language which machine can understand. They have a common fulcrum, and that's why this particular problem may appear. So I stop here for any questions, and I'm sorry if I hurt somebody in my sentence, क्योंकि अनुवाद के दिन अनुवादक का महत्व है, तकनीकी विदों का महत्व नहीं है। मेरी ओर से सबको सलाम और धन्यवाद। Ravi, you are mute.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद sir for your insight on technology, artificial intelligence, etc. You know, it will always be a kind of dosti as well as dushmani relationship with technocrats when you are talking with translators. At one point, you facilitate translators, you speed up work, but on the other hand, you discipline translator in certain sets. You know, we call it tagging, chunking, which is totally different foreign language for translators. And instead of, that puts a stress on minds, that makes life of translator hell, because the translator had to follow many rules which he or she has never thought of that he will have to follow. The freedom is lost. The choice of expression is lost. And rightly you were saying that humans will not be able to be replaced by machines. वैसे ही जैसे medicine and technology can make organs, but आत्मा कहाँ से लाइएगा? The same thing is there in text. You can replace text, but the flow, the tone, the expression, that creativity, is to be brought in by humans only. So therefore, there is no need of worrying about human being replaced. But certainly, one has to be little tweaking himself. So that's the idea, and it's very good that sir you talked about stalwarts like R.M.K. Sinha sir, Hemant Darbari sir, Pushpak Bhattacharya ji, Dr. Sangal. I have been very fortunate that I have interacted with them on variety of platforms and been part of certain projects, as advisor to certain from end users perspective, and I just hope that this kind of discussion we will have another one maybe on technology, machine translation. We will have a panel discussion after we celebrate our International Translation Day, and our friends, who are watching us, they are very strongly saying that technology cannot replace humans, and that's the reality. But the transformation that is taking place, we should not be running away from them. On that matter, there is a theory given by another very good philosopher who has studied technology, human relations management very well, and his name is Bruno Latour. जो हमारे लोग सुन रहे हैं उसको आप if you look Google, this name Bruno Latour. We also study in translation theory about him. He has given a theory called actor network theory, and that theory is very important because it talks about relationship between humans and machines. Both are different. Both are having their own activities. Machine is sleeping, until you have something to do. You are not planning yourself, and suddenly you have to do work. What will you do? You start your day, and the first thing that you will do friendship with machine. It can be electricity, switch, fan, motor, machine, or your computer, or a supercomputer, or something that comes into picture. So we humans, talk of human civilization, but we never talk about machine civilization. That is already there. We ignore that, and without that, we will not be able to do our day-to-day work now. So we should not be enigmatic or difference to those machines. Rather, it is better to learn them and smartly use them for our own benefits. Translation plus artificial intelligence and technology together can give a good opportunity to new startups. No, would you like to take up this, sir?
Definitely. I think the question is a very relevant question, and it is just in continuation with what Professor Ajit was trying to say. We always say machine learning, and we always think that machine is to learn from a human. But the other aspect also exists. Human learn from machine as well. And it's a both way. The first instance of something not known to me, I open Google and try to search. And then I say that, oh, technology doesn't support me. I think that does not gel well. What I'm trying to say is in education, or for that matter, knowledge transfer from source A to source B, there are two different approaches. One approach is from known to unknown and from unknown to known. If I believe, I don't know whether should I believe it or not, it's an altogether different question. But if I believe that Ramayana, Mahabharata kind of things were written by Rishi Muni by closing their eyes, sitting below the tree and imagining all characters, and those characters even today we are able to see in our real life. There exists Karna, there exists Rama, there exists everybody. If we look at some other concept of say Harry Potter, in Harry Potter also, there is something which has got its own flavor. And that particular component, when I'm trying to translate, or if I'm trying to create, say, Harry Potter in Hindi, then definitely the aspect of untranslatability will come. And perhaps what I was trying to understand, I think Professor Ajit is a better person to know that particular component. But in my view, this untransferability is a fundamentally entrepreneurship scope for our students, our newcomers to understand it. In my age, what I understood as a technology How I use as a technology is altogether different ball game. But how new engineers, budding engineers or budding translators, they are coming, how will they use it? It's a different ball game. I do not know how to operate a new remote for new TV which has been brought home. But my young son will be able to understand it faster. And that is from unknown to known travel will have to be done, and there are a variety of scopes available for it, and that's where this cloud translation concept has been inserted by technology. Technology doesn't do anything on its own. So saying that machine translation cannot translate, I already agreed upon. But if the avenues are generated by technology to practice your approach, to understand many things from machine and teach machine many things, that will evolve what is called as a knowledge base, and that knowledge base will eventually be some entity which will really work for these kind of knowledge transfers, whether it may be translation, transcreation, whatsoever. So entrepreneurship has to be developed and calculated in that way. I will just give one small example. Admiring is a word. Admire is a word. Admiring can be generated. Admiringly can be generated. Admiringliness can be generated. And who knows, somebody may write admiringlinessly. So he is converting adverb to adjective, adjective to adverb from particular noun, and he is using it as a verb. So these varieties are coming up, and one has to really study that particular component, and studying that component, technology can help. As I told you, I used Hindi to understand English. I urge entrepreneurs to use technology to learn something which is not known to them, and then definitely they will be in a better area to work as such. In India, good number of opportunities are available. Only thing is, we are not approaching right people at right moment, perhaps, and that's why some struggle we observe in the real field. I think I tried to answer the way I understand the question. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you, sir. That's with this, we come to end of our session. And if you look at, our session's tagline, which is tagline of International Federation of Translators, see at the top, this says, finding the words for a world in crisis. This crisis period in Corona time has given us lots of opportunity to rethink, about ourselves, in the system of uncertainties. We plan for 100 years, we plan for 200 years, and nature can take a turn and churn everything. And that phase of time, we find no words, no solutions. So with this, point, I would like to thank everybody here at our panel, as well as all our viewers who were with us, and request you all to please forward, and share this video information about our session with your friends. Maybe if somebody can listen to us and get some enlightenment, some idea that can trigger, more research, more activities, more entrepreneurship, it will certainly bring a positive change in India as well as in our society. Thank you very much, sirs, and thank you and good night to all my friends who are watching us, and good night to all the panelists. Thanks again.
Thank
sirs.
you. Thank you. Good
Bye.
night.
Thanks, Ravi. Bye.
Thank you. I have put the session off. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Ravi.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Dr. Vijendra, and good night, Dr. Anand. Thank you.